and gentlemen, please welcome Director of Multi-Platform Content at Black Enterprise, Selena Hill.
It is now my pleasure to introduce our featured speaker for the morning. If these unprecedented times have taught us anything, it's the importance of inspiration, resilience, and the power of uplifting one another. As we begin this day of personal growth and empowerment, we want to start with a message that will refuel your spirit and reignite your passion. This morning, we are honored to hear from someone who embodies strength, motivation, and perseverance. Tunde Oyeneyin.
Good morning. Good morning, Black people. I see so many beautiful faces. I love you too. I love you too. It's so incredible to be here, being amongst peers and so many accomplished Black women. I see the men too. I see our allies. Hi. It feels good. I'm so honored to be here, so I'll start with that. For those of you that don't know me, show of hands, how many of you Peloton? Okay. How many of you are mad at me for something I did to you on the bike? I believe the saying is sorry, not sorry. You came back. You came back. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Tunde Oyeneyin. I am a New York Times best-selling author of the book Speak. And you guys, I shamelessly plug that title everywhere I go. If I go to Starbucks and they ask me my name, I say Tunde Oyeneyin, New York Times best-selling author. My team and I worked so hard for that title, I'll never let it go. I'm also a Peloton instructor. I'm a motivational speaker, and I'm the first ever instructor to be named a Nike athlete. Thank you. For those of you that are not familiar with Peloton, Peloton is the world's largest connected fitness app. You have the ability to, from a studio in New York or London, broadcast and train with millions of people around the world. Typically, these people are training in their home or in a gym. It's almost the equivalent of, you guys know the Sphere? I don't know where I am in Vegas, but the Sphere where the Eagles, I think they perform tonight, or even when Beyonce comes to MSG holds 22,000 people. Working for Peloton is like someone coming up to you and saying, I want you to fill a stadium the size of MSG, 5 times the size of MSG, 5 times a night. They say, we'll provide the chairs, but you need to fill the seats. And people always ask, well, what's the magic? How do you get people to fill the seats? I've been with Peloton for 6 years now, and I think it is having the audacity to dare to show up as yourself. When people see themselves in you, they show up. And so I'm blessed every single day. I get to, by virtue of being myself, typically half naked, motivate. I hit different with clothes on. I know those, you're like, she looks different. Fully clothed. I have the gift of being able to motivate people to move. I get to push people outside of their comfort zones every single day. It's something that I'll never take for granted. People always ask, Tunde, how did you find your way to the bike? And I always say, the bike found me. I worked in the corporate world for 15 years. I was a makeup artist. I would travel around the globe training makeup artists on everything from product knowledge to technique and application and how to sell our products, to get our products in the hands of more people. It was my dream job. I lived in my dream neighborhood, Los Angeles, California, North Hollywood to be specific. I drove my dream car, a cute little white Sport Infiniti. I sold it when I moved to New York, but I'm with you. On paper, my life was everything. In reality, I was drowning. I loved my job until I hated it. I remember one specific afternoon I'll never forget. I was in store I left the counter area. I went to the back room. I looked at myself in the mirror. I splashed water on my face, which was very dangerous considering that my eyelashes were from here out to that window. With one hanging eyelash, I looked at myself and I said, Tunde, do you love this job or do you love the title? I think many of you can relate to that. I said, Tunde, do you love this job or do you love the respect? It was there in that moment that I realized I didn't feel like I was being of service. I didn't feel like I was using my gift to its full capacity. And so while working for that same company, I was flown from LA, where I lived, to New York for a conference, a makeup conference. And I was super obsessed at the time. I used to wear the watch. I had to close my rings. And I was on a 6.5-hour flight. Y'all, those of you that wear the watch, y'all know what I'm talking about. Yes. I was wearing the watch. I had to close my rings. Got off the 6.5-hour flight. Went down to the hotel gym to get a little bit of movement in. Quickly, I saw that there was a broken treadmill and a hula hoop. To this day, I don't know what was to be had with the hula hoop, but I realized that no workout was going to be had there. I had never taken a cycling class at the time, but I remembered that Kelly Ripa was always talking on her show about how great indoor cycling studios were. And she would always talk about how sometimes Beyonce would show up at her local studio. And so I look online, I see that they have one of the studios there in New York, and I say, I'm gonna give it a try. I walk down to the space. After purchasing my water bottle, the towel, and the seat to the bike, I was $45 deep. Truth be told, y'all, honestly, I wanted to turn around and just say, give me my refund, but there were already people in line behind me. I was embarrassed, so I said, let me just see what this is about. So fully judging myself, trying to figure out how to clip into the bike, I sit down. Just before the class starts, I hear screaming. So I think maybe Beyonce's there. I turn. It's not Beyonce, it's just a very small white woman. The instructor walks in. They're screaming for her. I didn't get it. I'm like, why are people so obsessed with their fitness instructor? So they walk in, or she walks in, she teaches the class. 3 minutes into the class, I'm in a state of euphoria. Have you ever done something for the first time? And while you're doing that thing, you feel so connected to it, almost as though you've been there before, or almost as though the thing was waiting for you. Or have you ever met someone, and in that first encounter, that first interaction, been so deeply connected to them as though you've been there before? That's how I felt after my first cycling class. 45 minutes later, I unclip from the bike. I'm walking back to my hotel. My walk turns into a skip. My skip turns into a hop. And within a matter of 5 seconds, I feel this wave of blue energy move through my body. I call it my blue light moment. I felt the energy rush from my fingers down into my toes. And after my very first cycling class, I knew that I'd be cycling for the rest of my life. And not just that, in this divine download of information, I can see myself on a stage, on a podium. And so to me, it registers that I'll be teaching it. It didn't stop there. Without even ever having had heard of Peloton, I'd never heard of it, didn't know what it was, I knew within this vision that I'd be able to impact the lives of millions of people by virtue of a bike. Every time I tell this story, I can feel it now. I feel chills in my hand, my face, in my knees. It was that clear. Now, I'd been on a flight for 6.5 hours. One could have said I was hallucinating, I was dehydrated. But I'd believe what I saw, to be clear. I got back to LA. I told my two best friends, Max and Christy, about this divine download of information. And they both laughed, smiled, and then they started crying. And they said, Tunde, it sounds so right for you. I said, how do you know? You've never even seen me do the thing. I've only seen me do the thing once. They said, it just sounds right. And so I will say that imposter syndrome, even though I felt so certain about what I'd seen, imposter syndrome set in once I got back to LA. You see, growing up, I was overweight, I was picked on, I was made fun of. I went to a predominantly white school. There were maybe 5 other black girls at my school. I was the darkest skinned. I'd been so used to being different. I remember I said to my friends, I said, I don't look like, walk like, or talk like an instructor. The sound of my voice is annoying. No one will find me motivating. My friend Max, on a weekly basis, would push me and say, Tunde, when are you going to go get your certification to teach? When are you going to get your certification to teach? Finally, I got my certification to teach. When you go to get a fitness certification, like different certifications, really they're just taking your money. You kind of just sit in a room for 8 hours. They ask you a couple of questions. So I didn't feel like I was competent after the 8.5-hour course. I just got the certification, still didn't know what I was doing. So I took the card they gave me that day. I put it on my dresser when I got home. That card sat in the same space collecting dust for 8 months. Sometime after I audition, I start working at a mom and pop studio in LA. Shortly thereafter that, I get a call from Peloton. This guy says his name is Cody Rigsby. I should come out. Cody, y'all. I call him my fairy godmother. He saved my life. Cody asked me to come out and audition. I didn't know who he was. He had a blue check next to his name. I was like, sure, I guess. I auditioned. He looks at me after and he says, Tunde, that was the best audition we ever had. I can't wait for you to start. A month went by. I get an email from the same Cody Rigsby. I regret to inform you, it was not a unanimous decision. We will not be moving forward with your candidacy. Now, the story has many layers, but in the interest of time, I will fast forward and say 8 months later, I got an email from Cody that said, there's been some shift in our alignment, and I think that shift will go in your favor. If you would you consider auditioning again? I auditioned. They acknowledged they were fools. Y'all saw they used me on the commercial, right? That was me. They said we were fools. Will you work here? Didn't say it like that, but basically, in my head. People always ask me, they say, Tunde, what did you do the first time around that you didn't do the second? If I can be honest, y'all, I killed that first audition. I'd had this blue light moment. I saw the job. I walked in with the presence of knowing it was mine. I remember a friend of mine had said, Tunde, the job is already yours. You just need to walk in and claim it. And so I walked in and I claimed it. First time around. Second time around, I was nervous. I knew that I could lose it again. Second time around, I stuttered. I messed up on my words. My playlist didn't hit like it did the first time around. So then why did I get the job? Here's what I'll say. Sometimes it's not that you're not ready for the opportunity of a lifetime. Sometimes the opportunity of a lifetime just isn't ready for you. I had mentioned that Cody very slyly said, there's been some shift in our alignment. What had happened was the person that previously was the head person in charge felt like they didn't see me in the space because no one in the space, the existing lineup at the time, no one looked like me. And so they couldn't see me in the role. Sometimes it's not that you're not ready for the opportunity of a lifetime. Sometimes the opportunity of a lifetime just isn't ready for you. They weren't ready for me yet. The beauty of uncertainty is infinite possibility. I think the greatest blessing, the greatest gift in my life in that moment where I said, I'm in the restroom, I have an eyelash hanging off, I'm in the space of doubt. I know that what I'm doing isn't it, but I have no idea what it is. I know that what I'm doing isn't it, but I don't know what it is. That was a gift. The beauty of uncertainty is infinite possibility. When you don't know what's next, anything can be next. I think that sometimes when we think that we know what we're looking for, when we think we know which route we're supposed to take next, we find ourselves in a state of tunnel vision. And when opportunities are coming in, if they don't fit directly within the path that we envision ourselves in or on, we miss the opportunity. Because I was uncertain, because I had no idea what I was looking for, I think that I was wide open. I think that if I known for sure what my next position was going to be after the cosmetic world, I think that this blessing would have walked right past me. I would have said, I have no business in fitness. I think that doubt is not a bad thing. I think that doubt feels heavy. Uncertainty feels heavy on our shoulders, on our back. But I think that when doubt enters, it's a course correction that's trying to make its way in. Doubt feels heavy, and oftentimes when we don't know what to do, we stand still and we feel the weight on us. But when doubt enters, you can go left or you can go right. One thing that is sure is that change will follow. Lean into uncertainty. Lean into the message that doubt will show you. Be curious. I travel a lot. I mentioned that I'm a motivational speaker. I speak a lot to purpose and power. Your purpose, I think, is your power. Your purpose is your power. Maybe better said, your contribution is your purpose. Your purpose is the way that you contribute to our society. Your purpose, I think, is who you were first before you were conditioned into becoming who you are now. One of my oldest memories, oh, thanks. Nobody's ever clapped for that part. Thanks. I think, when I think of my oldest memory, one of my oldest memories rather, it's kindergarten. I remember the teacher was on a chair. The kids, we were all sitting cross-legged in front of the teacher, and she was reading a book. Kindergarten is like, 4 or 5 years old? I remember, and maybe I wouldn't have articulated it like that then, but I remember being so in awe of my teacher. Like awe, speechless, breath. I felt it here in my chest. I remember being, maybe it was enamored by her ability to control the room, her ability to take up space, but also hold it. I remember I ran home to my dad after this first few days of school or so, and I said to my dad, I know what I want to be when I grow up. I don't want to be a princess. I don't want to be a singer. I want to be a teacher. He said, no, you don't, very quickly. He said, you're going to be overworked and underpaid. Shout out to the teachers. Shout out to the people watching y'all's kids right now. And so because my dad, the person that I looked up to most, because he quickly dismissed it, I quickly dismissed it. It wasn't until many years later when I started working in the cosmetic world, the company that I worked for, you did a 2-week basic training. They basically locked you in a room like this for 2 weeks, trained you on everything from products, product technique, and again, how to sell the product. I remember there were 2 trainers. One of them, her name was Cynthia. I remember many years later looking at Cynthia and feeling that same awness, that same connection that I had to Miss Green, my kindergarten teacher. I realize now what I was connected to was our shared purpose. My purpose is connectivity, to create connectivity, to lead, and to be a change maker. I think that I saw that in them, and something inside me recognized that in me. Your purpose is who you were first before you were conditioned into who you are now. I think that sometimes the people that we love and we respect the most, because they have so much weight on us, influence on us, power on us, and in order to protect us, they navigate us away from who we are. Perhaps the purpose of life is finding your way back to alignment so that you're able to step into your purpose. I think that power, your power, my power, I think that power is the level of connection you have to your purpose. Power is the level of engagement, connection that you have to your purpose. When you are living in purpose, on purpose, of purpose, you fully step into your power. Things feel easy. Something that is complicated to him or to her, it feels easy to you. It comes easily to you because it was meant for you. There are a lot of really great instructors at Peloton, but nobody does Cody like Cody. Nobody does Allie like Allie. Nobody does Jess Sims like Jess Sims. And nobody does Tunde like Tunde. Monotony sucks, right? Doing the same thing every day, it sucks. Believe it or not, I'm not always excited to get up at 4 a.m. to work out and sweat half naked with you, okay? My purpose then, as much as I love my job, my purpose is not to work for Peloton. My purpose, again, is to cultivate connection, to be a leader and a change maker. I'm fortunate that I get to live my purpose and show up in my purpose through my job. But the job itself is not purpose, because purpose is fluid. I found my purpose. I stepped into my power at Peloton. But because purpose is fluid, my power, my purpose will forever move with me. Now, there are many people when I get the opportunity to speak for different organizations, there are many people that say, well, Tunde, how do I find my purpose? Oftentimes I say, it's in there. You've just pushed it aside or buried it so long and so deep that it will take time to find it. And when I'm in an interaction with somebody and they tell me that they know what their purpose is, and perhaps they're just too scared or too nervous to step into it, I say that if you are lucky enough to know what your life's purpose is, how dare you not lean into it? Audre Lorde said, when I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I'm afraid. When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid. Every Women's History Month, we celebrate the stories of powerful women, those who paved the way for us, those who shattered glass ceilings and never gave up. Every Women's History Month, we pay homage to the Black women, both past and present, who have faced the battle of what it is to be the first. Every no they heard and every closed door they broke down provided space for us to more easily walk through. I think of Ida B. Wells Barnett, who was extremely active in the women's right and women's suffrage movements. Amongst many monumental actions she took, she fought tirelessly for the right of all women to vote, despite facing racism and adversity herself. This month, we honor our mother, our teammates, our sisters, and our friends, and every woman who time and time again challenges us to reach for new heights. Like award-winning journalist who's accepting the Luminary Award today, Jamel Hill, and founder and CEO of Meli Organics, Monique Rodriguez, and author and public speaker, Minda Harts. This month, we give thanks to the ones who gave us something to believe in, the ones who did it first. Vice President Kamala Harris, first woman, the first Black American and first South Asian American to serve in the role. Toni Morrison, first Black woman to win a Nobel Peace Prize for Literature. In celebrating her, we are inspired to explore parts of our own journey that we have yet to walk through. On the days when we are told you can't, and when we're in rooms filled with suits and ties and people that don't look like us, we call on the experiences of every Black woman who has ever done it first, because they remind us that everything is possible. Wilma Rudolph was diagnosed with polio at a young age and went on to the 1960s Olympics, setting a world record in the 200-meter race, and not one, but she won 2 gold medals. Not one, but 2 gold medals. When I think about some of the most well-known women in history, from Serena Williams to Harriet Tubman to Michelle Obama and even Queen Bee, I imagine that their focus was not on becoming the first, but rather on achieving something they believed they could do. A vision or a dream that drove them to push past fear, to be steadfast and show up at their best, and still find space to give more. Madame C.J. Walker developed and marketed the first successful line of beauty and hair products for Black women. She was the first Black female billionaire, and she was a single mother. Oprah said, "The biggest adventure you can ever take is to live the life of your dreams." The biggest adventure that you or I can ever take is to fully live the lives of our dreams. Black people, we can be anything and everything, and we can do it all at once. It's our complexities as women that make us so divine. It's the power of both and that propels us forward. We lead households and boardrooms. Sometimes we're the one who start fires, and oftentimes we put them out. We are hard, but we're also soft. We take up space, and we find the time to hold it. The paved way for us as Black women may not have been clear, but it was not knowing how to get here that ultimately led each of us here. I think that life is kind of beautiful in that way. It's the wrong turns, the missteps, the closed doors, and the realization that we're never really off track that actually puts us in the right place. Dear Black girls, our future is wide open. Thank you all so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Brown skin girl, your skin just like pearls. The best thing in the world. Never trade you for anybody else. And brown skin girl,